This afternoon, we have an open mic, and it's been put together by Kara Benson, who is a poet. She's the author of the forthcoming Funny, considering how heated it was. Her poems have appeared in the New York Times, the Boston Review, Best American Poetry and Fence. Most importantly, I think for us, she has been teaching poetry and poetics at Mount McGregor Correctional Facility since 2005. So she will be reading poems, and she will be there. We'll be joined also by Lem Genovese, who's a retired U.S. Army Iowa Guard veteran of both Vietnam and Desert Storm. His music, and I quote now, has been deemed the most inspiring and thoughtful from the Vietnam era. So please come. If that doesn't excite you, you should know that Ed Tick will be reading some of his poetry he has published, and I too, striving to do a book of poetry, will be reading some of mine. So please come and join us. And if you want to play or sing or read or just listen, whatever you'd like to do, that will be another period where we can all participate artistically and creatively with each other. Thank you.
And then this last piece is a piece by me. That's C-A-R. This is a piece that I wrote to perform inside. We have a weekly poetry class on Mondays, and every other month we do a speak out in the prison, in the chapel. And occasionally a lot of outside guests that come in, and often administration is there, and it's the typical sort of CO's walkie-talkies crackling in the background, and the acoustics are similar, and there's going to be a lot of guests this particular night, and the gentleman in my class, really wanted me to represent what it is that poetry can do, and what it, talk about why I do it. They wanted me to talk about why I do it, and so this is what I wrote. Well, I sat down to write this poem, and all I got was a lousy t-shirt slogan. Something like, I love new poems, or poetry is for lovers, or prosody is okay, the verse state, the poem of 10,000 lakes. I sat down to write this poem so that I might speak to you tonight about poems. That thing we do almost every Monday and every other month on a Sunday. I don't know why I do it. Come here all those times and weeks and hours and no pay and nothing but some hassle sometimes. You the poet? Oh, I got one for you. Goes like roses are red and violets are blue. That's the COs, of course. And occasionally frustration, but then there's elation. And you know how it goes, or the guys in the class do, and the papers start to whip around in the air, and I've got my rant on, and suddenly an insight, or what do you think the poem? No, wait, here's what I think, and then there's a whole lot of back and forth, and where's the freedom and constraint? Can 14 lines, or using only Bernie Sanders' speech, or just the rhetoric, de una poeta en Nueva York, set siling a fly line beyond, or over, or through, or maybe it's more alchemical than that, or metabolic. There is no empirical substance to what poet Muriel Rukeyser calls the unverifiable truth, that truth which we know to be truer than true. It's what we do when the line disappears into the end of the page before the margin kills it, or the thought or thing shifts from gas to liquid, or liquid to gas, that liminal state right before the raindrops swell themselves into being, or the way a group of poets can knock around a few words and make soup. The way 99% of the language is resurfacing, repurposed for participation in the people. The way a poem can do this. It can take the alphabet and wash it clean of all the advertising and marketing and branding and taglines and bullshit and talking points and legislative hyperboil, crawling, scrawling, supernovic, Bachman, Turner, overdrive, monster truck, town, carbon-colored spray, filter resonance, and stir back in the yes, the fact that Rose was a trope from way back then, and it's new and not new, but also now we know worn by protesters in Paris in 1960. create. And so you put it in the lapel of your poem, through the buttonhole of metaphor. It is an aperture of the now, into what is to come, into what you want to come, what you suspect was done, and you planted solid. Your feet gonna keep burying you deep, and that flower right there in front of you, it makes it so you can breathe just one more day. That, gentlemen, is the poem. The way language blooms in the room of censorship, like laurels and arrow, a folded up note slid across the aisle. That is why I do it. See you in class next week.
Okay. Run back from center field to the dugout after a great catch and a double play. Direction of the wind, the intensity of the wind, the drift of the ball. There's not enough sunlight to block his view. Don't you call me no brain, 'cause I've got this to say. I just wanted to warn you, baby. Try to explain. Well, does your mama, this is your part. Does your mama know you're going? Know you're going with a man like me. Let's try it. Well, does your mama know you're going? Little man, now if you don't want to do the soprano part, for all you basso profundos out there, including Samuel, let's go. Does your mama know you're going? Little man like me. Let's roll a Elvis in there, it's all it is. About street fighters, I don't need it. I've got the good sense, baby. Go ahead and dial 911. Because your mama. Now for the non-vets, there is a special verse. Ask your local non-vet for translation. Now my former old lady ran that house with the reviews. She had that place down on Tudor Street. She took NBC boots. Don't you know you're going? Little man like me. Please don't call me no bragger, 'cause I have that to maintain. I just want you, baby. Try to maintain your commercial. You know you're going. Hey, man, let's try it one more time. Because you're you're going. Sunset from this veranda, serving up a drink is waitress Miranda. Came into a steak, Yankees, no and ice, tequila and high sheets, served by the slice. There's poets, playwrights, and pirates too. Papa Hemingway first divorce. As any public people living from this place, it's music bound to put a smile on your face. Under the shade of the shoreline cabana, 99 of the miles from the streets of Havana, where you go to vacation, return on probation, under the spell of this Caribbean breeze, and so we discover the keys to disease, and so we discover the keys to disease. Well, we have to take an afternoon siesta to recover from last night's fiesta. Smile a while, the 8 mile. Smile a while, the 8 mile. Smile a while, the 8 mile. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. There were some old palm trees, savoury taste of the fruit libation, from the blacks for a nation.
I have a poem that I wrote while I was in the poetry class at Cara teaches. I'm a protege of hers. And I believe it's ideal for this occasion. And hopefully you can appreciate it. I also have one I wrote today in reflection of some of the topic that was discussed. And I believe it touches on memorial. This piece is called Indocile. Indocile, flag, religion, and culture, how foul. While revealing the citizens of friends and towns called government and false pride, that has decimated hope and impaired the imperable, recognized as God's design. Handed down like hammered down, shabby ideas and illusion of equality, in mixed match colors, sick with patriotism, charming lost souls in the name of God, country, dogma, and riches. To the processions of early manicured masquerade, decorated with ribbons and tin metal symbols of cynicism, how foul. See, what I see is the prayer of little hands not being reached, and the tear-stained cheeks of little children not being wiped, screaming for their mommies and daddies coming home in pieces to no peace. See, I can see the empty bags of Red Cross, no salvation for any army being broken by any God that's any good. But what I cannot see is flags that promote peace, true religion that promotes God, and most importantly, a culture that promotes unity that we call civilization. So what have we learned in docile? This is a piece that I wrote today. Hopefully it speaks to the occasion. Me and my wife, we was writing pieces. For everybody was sharing today. Hopefully she shared hers. Shares hers today. This is called Why We Gather. Why do we gather? Gatherings, a word bomb that should create more peace than confusion. So here we are, in our evening, the world community, still separated by thrown stones opposed to God's grace. Still speaking in multiple tongues, eating sour apples of discord, still looking for the manger baby, not the miracle. Yet we gather. We gather for aborted peace and to recognize drinking the blood of our brothers won't make us well. We gather to celebrate and to honor our protectors of our liberties with our about faces, with our government benefits shakedowns instead of handshakes, with our short-term memories about their sacrifices and empty promises. We gather and celebrate our heroes with blood-stained hands, with a nationalistic ignorance that ignores the need and pain. We sing our national anthem with pride, yet too often we treat them with disdain. What do we really honor and celebrate? Is it comforts rather than country? To be served and not their service? Well, ask it then. Why do we gather? Because of their sacrifice.
Can you read between the lines? Who is the best storyteller, him or her? Let me ponder that thought. My gut tells me he is truly telling a story. Is this suitable for children? It's about the injustice of a vet. How we can right his wrong. Give him the praise he may not be able to handle, like cutting off his hand. He had to remove the fuse. He had to remove the fuse that brings the pain. He looks through you like an hourglass. Who is telling the best story?
Anybody here? I believe everybody got issues. But seriously, I think you're going to enjoy this piece because it's called I Got Issues. The language may be strong, but I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy it. It's called I Got Issues. I got issues. Beginning with that slap on the ass, life moving too fast, from the play-tell games to the play-to-sell lessons for lame, that you learn absence attendance, repentance of sitting in class. I got issues. I got issues with the customary routines of superficial greetings, insincere apologies, and fuck you, thank yous, and the good morning for who. I got issues. I got issues with the cosmetic charade, you know that make way for that queen who would never be a queen and knight that would never be a knight. Yeah, that being bastard. One never knew chastity nor the other chivalry. I got issues. I got issues with the made-for-man TV children whose mother name begin with and father's surname, and I got issues. I got issues with the I do not care reality of society and the no children left behind comedy. Children who pray for those who pray. I got issues. I got issues with politicians becoming criminals politicking, votes that don't count, and those who count that don't vote. I got issues. I got issues with the weapons of mass destruction, presidential frontmen, lemonades, band-aids, and Kool-Aids that squeeze too easy, that's never in tune, and just too damn cold. High soldiers of fortune, veteran henchmen, and international lynchmen. I got issues. I got issues with Dorothy waking up in Kansas, out of her dreams, with Toto, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion, and not dying in my mind. And Martin Luther King Jr. having a dream of one nation, one God, and one people, and not living in our minds. I got issues. I got issues with the charity begins at home being homeless, and the homeless feeling at home without charity. I got issues. I got issues with health care having no social security, and social security being in poor health. I got issues. I got issues with silver spoon soldiers never seeing action, pitchfork families already in debt shopping for too many caskets, frontline casualties, remembering our true history, and ghetto baby kings defending our cherished liberties. I got issues. I got issues with those who serve in the selective draft, our flag being flown at half-mast, stocks and bonds of Wall Street more morticians climbing too fast, with Humvees, wannabes, and Jay-Z's without a GED. And adopting a child, not getting a penny from suicidal millionaires. I got issues. I got issues with people who can't keep their pants up, always walking around with their heads down and the bling bling landing in Sing Sing. I got issues. I got issues with lost mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, the value of life, and the sense of our morality, God, and prayer. I got issues that nobody cares.
The poem was written by a veteran named Larry Winters, Vietnam veteran. He had come to some of our retreats. He's a fantastic poet, and he wrote this poem for us. And he read it at one of our retreats, and then our program manager, Paula Griffin, asked him for a copy, and she went home and she wrote a response. And so then what we did, very creatively, was we melded the two poems. And so we're going to both read it, and Dave is going to read Larry's part, and I'm going to read Paula's part. Yep. The poem is called I Killed for You.
I killed for you.
You killed for me.
You may not have asked me to, but I killed for you.
I didn't ask you to, but you killed for me.
I didn't ask to go to Vietnam.
I didn't ask you to go to Vietnam.
I didn't support the war.
I wasn't sure what or where war was.
Still, I killed for you and for me.
Still, you killed for me.
I killed for you while you paid your taxes.
You killed for me when I was 12 years old.
You watched me kill on TV while you were eating cheeseburgers.
You killed for me while I played make-believe with my friends and dreamed of who I'd someday marry.
I killed for you while you were protesting that I was killing for you.
You killed for me as I overheard the news of the growing number of lives lost and subconsciously wondered about the ache in my parents' hearts.
I killed for you while you avoided the draft, while you ran off to Canada.
You killed for me while I rode my bicycle, swam, and went to church without fear.
I killed for you as you waited in the line at the supermarket, when you were out getting drunk, after you got your first good job after college. While you enjoyed free love, I was killing for you.
You killed for me as I worried about my wrist turning green instead of about the soldier whose name was etched into the band I wore. As I cheered for my football team and the man on the moon, but not for you. You killed for me.
I have carried pain for you,
You have carried pain for me,
guilt for you,
guilt for me,
shame for you,
shame for me,
for all the killing I did for you.
for all the killing you did for me.
When I came home, you expected me to heal for you, to get on with my life for you, to be productive for you, to marry you, to raise children for you, and most of all, to forget for you.
When you came home, I didn't notice. It's taken me 37 years to realize you were gone. I'm sorry for the years of suffering you've endured. I weep, knowing the pain in your soldier's heart, because you killed for me. And this is a poem that I wrote, actually I wrote it for Larry, but I dedicate it today to all of our veterans here. It's called Sentry. I look into your soft eyes as you hold up your tattered shield to keep me from seeing the beast, fangs dripping, and you with nowhere to run. But I'm a grown woman. I can only feel your story like a distant mist, a dream I can only glimpse in pieces. But don't think I can't hear the desperate howl behind your silence, the crashing of your heart on the jungle floor. It is you I really want to see, even when it hurts. I know there is safety in that inside place, when there's no more ollie ollie oxen free, and the wound and the growl are deeper than earth. I ache to hold your broken heart and sing and rock and rest. But I know the power of that inside place to hide you away forever. So I keep vigil outside your door, 3 feathers in my hair, beating my woman round drum, humming the ancient warrior song all night long.
That book sells and has made a difference. Americans don't buy poetry. However, if you read, all the poems in Golden Tortoise are about our journeys back to Vietnam. And we've been so concerned with our veterans, rightly, and we've had so many Vietnam vets at this retreat that I'll just read about some poems about Vietnam today. And for those of you who might be interested in what Vietnam is like now, and what our veterans' experiences are like going back, and what their experiences and views and of us are. It's all in this book. And I'll just read about a few places that our vets in this retreat visited back when, so you can know what it's like now. So for those of you who are in the Mekong Delta, this poem is called Green. And I wrote it, well, a vet who was a river rat said to me, when I first went to Vietnam, the Mekong Delta was like the Garden of Eden. But when I left a year later, it was like a wasted moonscape. So please, please tell me, I need to know, what does the Delta look like today? This is it. Green. The Mekong Delta is green. The palms lining its shore are green. The tall grasses are green. Its floating clumps of water lilies are broad-leafed green. The water itself is muddy green. The air, damp, thick, humid, and heavy, smells green. And even the gray clouds blanketing the sky seem tinged with reflected green. The steel barrels floating in the water are green. Some painted green, others rusty steel reflecting green. And the hundreds of poor, simple, unpainted houses and fishing sampans are green. Their wood is stained and tempered by water, rain, breeze, and sweat until it is turned dark green. All along the riverbanks where there are no houses, the jungles or bush fades away in layer upon layer of floating green. Ankle-deep, knee-high, chest-high, mottled levels of green, until the brush finally becomes impenetrable in dark depths of green. But the children's eyes are black, and their shining smiles and waving hands and blown kisses save us from drowning in endless swells of green. Thank you, and I recognize it's hard to know when some poems end. Also from the Mekong Delta, not only about the Delta, but about the women. And we have 15% of our military today are women warriors. Well, around the world, in the third world countries, and in the invaded countries, and it was true in Vietnam, everybody served, the women had to serve. In Vietnam, they were called long-haired warriors. And when we're down in the Mekong Delta, we stay with this wonderful couple, Tom Tien and Mrs. Tien. They were both VC. In fact, they met in the war, serving together in the same Viet Cong unit. This is for them, and about us, when we meet them. So, long-haired warrior. Madame Tien is a Viet Cong veteran, a long-haired warrior, as the women fighters were called. She enlisted in the Viet Cong at 10 years old, after her school was bombed and destroyed by our American planes. Amidst dead children, I follow my teacher into battle. Serving as a courier, she met her future husband, who became a VC unit commander while fighting the war. Unlike American GIs, the Vietnamese were in the war until it was over, or until they were wounded or killed. Their company commander married them in a simple jungle ceremony. I speak my vows to my man and country, honeymoon ambush. The couple began their family during the war. While fighting and struggling, they had 3 children. Bless you. Nursing babies, fighting invaders, war inside and out. Mr. Tien was severely wounded twice. With a joyous laugh, he lifts his shirt to show us his scars. The entire family survived and began a farm on this Delta island where they still live with their families. Dragon eyes, mangoes, eels, snails, turtles, and grandchildren. Tides in, tides out, tides in. Now they welcome us, offer tea, pineapple, and red-spiked chum-chums. They joke and smile with my group of American veteran visitors. They are especially anxious to hear our vet stories and offer us their hospitality. Last time you must leave, but tonight, please, dream on my pillow. So we go back every year and we dream on their pillows. About that school, the morning after we heard of Madame Tien's wartime losses, with funds we had raised to build it, we dedicated a kindergarten in the Mekong Delta that serves about 30 children and 5 or 6 of the poorest Mekong Delta families. And this is the poem that's inscribed on the wall of the school that we gifted to them. Rice, bamboo, children, sprouting on this green river as long as tides flow. And I know some of our brothers here are in the Central Highlands, so I'll do a poem to visit the Highlands. And one of our vets' experiences on returning to his old AO on Dragon Mountain. Bob was a grunt early in the war. His unit dropped into raw jungle to destroy its vegetation, villages, and opposition. Now he combs the red earth of the old base beneath the mountain. Beneath red clay, grasping roots, buried mines. He remembers lobbing shells into a village until it was cinder, crouching in wet foxholes, unable to sleep for weeks, not knowing as he pulled their pins if the mines he was setting would explode. Stooping in tall grass, I pick up the old mine release, expecting to die. As enemy troops watched from jungle shadows, he learned to endure terror without making a gasp of sound or ripple of movement. I twirl green plastic between my fingers, feeling nothing. The mine release once meant death. Now he remembers, watches, waits. No blast, no shrapnel, a black butterfly. Breakfast explodes. His head swirls and his stomach retches. A torrent of curses and vomit pours from the mouth of this usually polite, quiet, gentle man. A few of us tend him and nurse the return of feelings buried and frozen under a rigid combat zone control. Bad soup morning, medicine for my poisoned past. After an hours-long sickness, Bob's eyes shine. He laughs at the spillage he had secretly held and carried for almost 4 decades. We rejoice at the impossible healing that together we prove is, in fact, attainable. This mine pressure plate I planted decades ago opens my guts today. And Bob is doing wonderfully. And we really, really, really need always to know, to understand, to rehumanize the other. Those who we demonize and dehumanize in order to go to war against them without ever knowing them, their reasons, their motivations, and their goodness. So, again, for the women, for all the women who serve in every way, staying home, holding the life and home together, or having to go and serve, or those we force into service by our military actions abroad. This poem's called Song of the Vietnamese Women. There's a lot of individual incidents in it. Every one of these happened to the Vietnamese women and was shared with us, and we put it together into one song for all women who suffer during war. And I am proud to say this has been translated and published in Vietnam, and it's pretty popular over there because they have said, if Americans can understand our experience, if you can understand what we did and why we had to do it, then there truly is hope for world peace and healing. They are very concerned about us in ways that we're not concerned about them or other of the victims of war that we've created all over the world. There is more respect, hope, understanding, and unity with us, Americans, around the world than we have any idea exists. And if we would just learn to reach out instead of bomb, we'd find that. So, Song of the Vietnamese Women. I will grow my rice beside your craters. I will place my body before your tanks. I will give my hands to stop your helicopters and give my legs to cut your wire. I will mark your minefields to protect my village and hoe all day to stand watch all night. I will dig and chop and lash and haul to open jungle trails to foil you. I will go without rice so our fighters may eat and sing in the foxholes beneath your burning rain. I will wrap myself in chains to show what you do and bandage your wounds when you fall into my arms. I will give my father, my husbands, my sons, and bless their leaving, though I never see them again. I will pray you return to your mother's arms, and forgive you, though you take everything I have. I will feed my men whose hands you have shorn. I will carry my sisters through the bleeding night. I will tend my buffalo as your bombs fall down and rebuild my dikes after you have blown them. I will aim my plow as straight as my gun and plant young rice and forge new bullets. Long after you have gone and forgotten me, I will give my limbs to defuse your minds. Made for feeding, caressing, sewing, made for nursing, carrying, caring, made for planting, harvesting, cooking, made for threading, weaving, sewing, made for singing, dancing, laughing, made for acting, playing, loving. Come here with hatred, and I will don the helmet, the scope, the rifle, the bomb. I am grandmother, mother, wife, and daughter. Make me angry and you cannot be right. Make me mad and you cannot be just. Make me rebel, though all I am wishes to birth and plant and grow. Make me resist and you show your heart. Make me fight and you cannot win. Make me stand and you will fall. Return in peace. Show me your wounds, and I will bind them with love and call you brother.
The same war continues. We have breathed the grits of it in all our lives. Our lungs are pocked with it, the mucous membrane of our dreams coated with it, the imagination filmed over with the gray filth of it. The knowledge that humankind, delicate man, whose flesh responds to a caress, whose eyes are flowers that perceive the stars, whose music excels the music of birds, whose laughter matches the laughter of dogs, whose understanding manifests designs fairer than the spider's most intricate web, still turns without surprise, with mere regret, to the scheduled breaking open of breasts whose milk runs out over the entrails of still alive babies, transformation of witnessing eyes to pulp fragments, implosion of skinned penises into carcass gullies. We are the humans, men who can make, whose language imagines mercy, loving kindness. We have believed one another mirrored forms of a God we felt as good, who do these acts, who convince ourselves it is necessary. These acts are done to our own flesh. Burned human flesh is smelling in Vietnam as I write. Yes, this is the knowledge that jostles for space in our bodies, along with all we go on knowing of joy, of love. Our nerve filaments twitch with its presence day and night. Nothing we say has not the husky phlegm of it in the saying. Nothing we do has the quickness, the sureness, the deep intelligence living at peace would have. And then I guess, I didn't realize it till reading that again, that I wouldn't be surprised if it influenced this poem. A couple of years ago, I started writing a poem called Praying All the Way to the Morgue, and I completed it, and when I completed it, I wrote the book jacket for a book of poetry, because I figured, it's about time, I gotta do this. And I kind of liked, if I read the book jacket, you know, Gradess is a new voice, and blah, 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 blah. I'd get into it, and I would force myself to do it. So now I get here, and it's about ready to get published, and I hear that they don't sell so well, so that's not so good. But this is from that book. Huh? This from a... Okay, this is entitled Before the Eternal War Began. We rode roughshod across the Nagasaki River, killing Indians and niggers and redskins and slaves. Stopped only when we reached the port of Vagina. Stocked our wagons and went on, disembarking with troops and guns and hammers and nails. We built a kingdom washed in blood and forged the name Liberty on a door stolen from the poor. It has been in us since we landed, escaping for freedom, but lining up to kill the ideas of others. It grows in us like a hate virus, spreading through veins and arteries of a nation. The long conveyor belt of a science gone mad, switched on at Plymouth, continues. Children of test tubes meet hungry orphans. Soldiers' widows are beaten for sex. Aborted babies meet executed innocents. Queer lovers live with fear. Lonely children long for imprisoned mothers. Crippled men beg for coins. And dishonored women long for home. The train whistle blows, but the tracks go nowhere, spiked with coolie blood on rotting ties along the route. We dispense medicine in thimbles and bullets in bags. Political parties compete to say no the loudest. We cannot breathe air, we cannot drink water. Our garbage has nowhere to go, and we're burning a hole in the sky. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning for what? Detention? A border fence? Guantanamo? Zero tolerance, lethal injection, civil commitment? These are emblems on the sleeve of the new fascist uniform. We torture now and we lie about it. Nuremberg is just a dream. We try our own case, the jury for our own sins. Our commitment, we promise, is to civility and courage, but our technology belies our claim. We left an echo of light, pictures of people, when we dropped the big one. From Little Bighorn to No Gun Reed, we have become what we detest. We poisoned our own with Agent Orange and napalm pasted Vietnamese children to their very own ground. We forbid Iraqi children their medicine and then declared new war against them. Panama, Grenada, Colombia, Harlem, Delano, Watts, these names sound in death song. Kent State, Martin King and Waco, McVeigh, Afghanistan, and Seal. Without beginning and without end, our enterprise reveals itself in bones and blood, dragged behind a truck, hung from a tree, burned at the stake, killed in an alley. We teach those we don't like how democracy works. It works for the king and the queen and the vassals below. Our president speaks and whole nations run to hide. We have become what we once claimed to hate and grown into what we once said we resisted. Our mail is not our own, our speech measured. We are on the government list. Cameras record us, a digital world tracks us, computers recall us. Even the joy of flight has been taken from us as they search us and screen us and break the locks off our baggage. And the dogs are on the trains, and the agents are on the buses, and the uniforms are everywhere. Our borders are closed, our jails are full, our young are jobless, our old are dying. Everyone is fat, but no one is happy. Welcome to the land of soccer and romance, the infantile terra firma, the happy land of dazed intolerance, where Donald Trump stands for the flag and George Bush stands on it. Welcome to 1952, at the lemonade stand in your brain. A nickel glass now costs $4, but you still run your car on sugar cones, and your boss gives you a raise, and the doctor makes a house call, and the chalkboard is still green, and not a cell phone is in sight. Welcome to the past, before you saw the permanent government and the military state. Welcome to the world before corporation, when grass grew and poverty didn't. Welcome to the world of recollection, before the $200 million campaign, a soundbite and spin. Offer up a prayer, if you will, for memory and love. Alone in the cathedral of your heart with no other place to go, remember a time past when hope lived in you and offer up a prayer. Remember before the sea tore away the dock of your dreams, before everyone seemed armed in one way or another, before the darkness set in and the loud night noises began, when there was still a sunset and a Valentine and a smile. Recall your life before the midnight hour at the crossroads, when peace meant something, and songs were happy, and laughter was in us, before the eternal war began. Offer up a prayer for your life and the lives of others, but do not be surprised by a God as lonely as you, fearful for the world, a God who prays back.
Another second chance. If there's no rest for the wicked, then who's left to fan the flames? If there's no hope left between us, then who's left to shift the blame? When there's fingers being pointed, all the scapegoats look the same. When it comes to second chances, we refuse to play those games. We refuse to play those games. There's more to the present than waiting on a lucky break. There's more to the future than repeating past mistakes. There's more to our life now than locking all the doors. There's more to our life now than merely keeping score. And it just repeats. I wrote this because I was fed up with the way this country treats civil discourse now. gotten to a point of stalemate where we've accepted nothing gets done as the status quo. That's a pretty sad statement. So this is a hopeful song, but it's an honest song. I always write from where I've been. And last decade or so, because of the mortality rate of my brothers and sisters from the Indo-China School of Cultural Exchange, I feel compelled to speak as if I was already dead, because it's going to happen a lot sooner than later. No hope left between us. a wedding song. For those of you that don't know me, I'm also a Desert Storm veteran. I volunteered to be a combat medic with a unit from Iowa City. And I didn't have to go. My actual unit didn't get called, but I really felt compelled. I had this picture in my head of the United States having the fastest war it had ever fought since the Spanish-American War. And I really felt like this was the last opportunity I was going to have to do something for my country and hopefully to help treat Iraqi prisoners of war as civilians. That was my number one reason for going, not for the glory, not because it was another war, but because I was sick and tired of American soldiers being accused of atrocities, etc. ad nauseum. I was going to make a difference if I had to, like, fisticuff somebody treating these civilians and the Iraqi prisoners of war the way I know my uncles from World War II treated. So I went to Fort McCoy. My roomie put an ad in the Lacrosse Tribune for pen pals. One of them was a 6-foot-tall nurse practitioner. He said, "Here, Lem, this one's for you. That Desert Storm pen pal is that woman right there. This is the song I wrote for our wedding. And all I can say is it was the smartest thing I ever did, volunteering for Desert Storm, and completely, and I mean completely changed my life. Talk about healing. Wow. So this is cruising on this groove. In that decade of silence, faith that pulls us through. Conspicuous in its absence, this music without a clue. These letters of inspiration finally falling into place from the desert isolation. You smile wonderful. All the bases covered, it's time to make our move. It looks like extra innings, while we're cruising on this groove, my love. Cruising on this groove. This may sound like the movies, we swear it's unvarnished truth. This friendship forged in those fires, a marriage, final proof. Heading for the big leagues, we're gripping it by the seams. Better late than never, it's our shot. All the bases covered,